Okay, so today we're going to talk about how flowering plants reproduce. And don't forget, reproduction is just making another one. So I'm just going to draw a cross section of a flower. And inside of the flower, we have a structure called a pistil and another structure called a stamen. And the pistil is the female part of the plant. And I like to call that Peggy to help people remember. And the stamen is the male part of the plant, and I call that Stanley. Okay, so the pistil is Peggy, the stamen is Stanley. And up on top of the stamen is, let me just draw this a little bit differently. There's usually some kind of an outcrop. And this is where the pollen of the plant is usually found, on top of Stanley. And the pollen is a very tiny little particle that gets stuck on visitors to the plant. A visitor could be somebody walking by the plant. It could be a dog sniffing in the garden. But most of the time it's insects that visit the flower. So let's say a bumblebee or a butterfly comes along, and the butterfly flies by and lands on the flower and sticks its little long tongue down to get some nectar. And what happens when the butterfly lands on the flower, it picks up some pollen on its body somewhere. Might pick it up on its legs, could pick it up on its head, on its antenna, and on its wings. Somewhere on the insect's body will be deposited some pollen, because the pollen comes away from the plant easily but sticks pretty good to insect legs and things like that. So the insect is now a pollinator. So that insect flies away. He just conveniently disappeared from my picture. And he might fly into a new plant. So let's pretend this is a new plant. And the butterfly comes back or comes into the new plant to pick up some more nectar at the bottom of the plant. So it lands, and the little pollen granules on its leg will get deposited on top of the pistil, or Peggy. And what happens is the pollen actually makes its way down to the ovules in the plant. And this is the ovary of the plant, the swollen part at the bottom, and then the ovules are inside. So those are the eggs. And what happens is the pollen makes its way down and fertilizes one of those ovules, okay? So now the plant becomes fertilized because the pollen that the insect dropped off made its way down the pistil and fertilized one of the ovules. And so this insect is actually called a pollinator because it deposited pollen on the plant. So then the process is kind of cool. So let's say this guy goes away and he goes and visits and pollinates another plant. Once the plant is fertilized, these structures start to disappear because the plant no longer needs them. So the plant will not send any more food or nutrients to them, so that they'll sort of wither away, let's say. And Peggy goes through some changes as well. And Peggy, like a pregnant woman, when she is fertilized, her ovary will swell quite large, and inside of there will be seeds to a new plant, and she will have this very large, actually I drew this upside down, this part will be what's left. So let's say this is a tomato plant. What happens is Peggy, pregnant Peggy, actually is the tomato now. So this is what results, is fruit. And the fruit is actually made so that the seeds can find their way back to the ground. Let's get back to the ground and grow another plant so that we can have the exact same process happen again. So all of that is sexual reproduction in a plant.